before we end this on a lighter note,
All
I
right.
just wanted to address something real quick. I'm not sure if you guys saw what Reggie Jackson said on, I believe it was a pregame show of the I forget what the name of the game is called.
It was a Rickwood field game between the Cardinals and the Giants. It happened uh, Thursday night, actually the day after Willie Mays had passed away.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who aren't up to speed about Reggie Jackson, because I didn't want to end the show on this, I just wanted to give Reggie his flowers for what he said there. So for those who aren't in the know, Reggie Jackson, who is a former as a Hall of Famer, a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, played in the MLB for 20 years in the 60s to the 80s. Uh, he spoke about his experiences of playing in the MLB. I forget the actual question he was asked, but he went on to speak about his experiences of and by the way, trigger warning for what I'm about to say. Um, he spoke about his experiences of playing in the MLB, and he talked about how, and I'm paraphrasing, that he would not want to do it again because of the abuse and racist acts that he had faced in his time, and just about the physical and mental abuse that he went through, talking about how people nearly wanted to burn his homes, and how he couldn't stay in hotels, and how teams had to move from different restaurants because they refused to serve him, and how he gave credit to his team manager for sticking up for him and saying that they went to different hotels and different uh, restaurants that would that were willing to serve him. So it please don't just listen to what I my account of what he said. Please go and seek it out on the internet and find out what he said, because it's very chilling. And considering he played post MLK's assassination, post Malcolm X's assassination, when post Jim Crow, I can only imagine what Jackie Robinson had to endure hearing what Reggie Jackson's account were. So I just wanted to give Reggie Jackson his flowers and say thank you so much for your contributions to the game of baseball. Thank you for everything you did to lay the groundwork for Black athletes to have a better experience than what you did. And to all of the men who came before us in all sports, Jesse Owens and Muhammad Ali and Bill Russell and all of these transcendent Jim Brown, all these transcendent Black athletes who not only were amazing on the field, but were pioneers off the field. And it can't be understated that we love and appreciate you gentlemen. And we're not here speaking about sports today if it weren't for your contributions. So yeah, please seek out the video of Reggie Jackson speaking about his experience of playing in the majors, because it is a humbling piece of footage.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you mentioned it, Jerry. I'm wearing the hat of the T-Town Clowns. They were the Tulsa, Oklahoma Negro League teams. Um, they played in the heart of the Greenwood District, which was part of the infamous Tulsa Race Massacre in 1921. I did a lot of research and written about that event like over the years, and it's horrific. Um, Actually, where the Tulsa Drillers, the Dodgers AA minor league team plays now, is like right in the middle of Black Wall Street. And because it's in the middle of Black Wall Street and people consider that place a sacred ground, a lot of Black people don't go there because of that. And then to support the city building a multi-million-dollar baseball stadium in a place where like a bunch of Black people were murdered. Um, so yeah, like I'm glad you mentioned that, Jared Hoffman. Reggie Jackson spoke candidly. I'm glad Fox allowed him the room to do that, to speak candidly about his experience, about him being called the N-word wherever he went,
And
despite
he
the fact he was
said it on air
yeah,
too.
he said the N-word twice
Yeah,
on air
sure
with
did.
no bleeps. Literally no
And
bleeps. He said
also,
it twice on air.
I'm glad you said that. I want to give props to the fellow contributors and that were on set with him. They didn't interrupt him. They didn't try to ask a follow up question in the middle of while he was trying to talk. They just sat back and listened. And That's what a lot of us, a lot of, and I don't want to get too deep on this, but a lot of this, what's going on in the world would be so much different if we just sat back and listened and didn't try to give our input. Because sometimes we don't know everything. We don't know everything. So sometimes we need to listen and learn instead of trying to speak, because you don't know how foolish you sound until someone more knowledgeable than you gives their input and your eyes are wide open to a new perspective on the world. So I just want to give those guys credit. I believe Big Poppy was on that set. I believe Jeter was on the set with him. So yeah, just props to those guys for sitting back and listening and letting him tell his story.
It's important too to talk about these things, considering the fact we live now in a political climate where certain politicians are trying to excise these conversations even being happening from kids knowing about it, banning books and restricting curriculum. I know South Carolina recently passed a law that no longer allows for students to learn about African American history in school. So yeah, like, and Reggie Jackson is in his 70s, and this happened during my parents' time and your parents' time and our grandparents' time. This wasn't too far away. It wasn't like somewhere like in the 20s or like in the 1910s or something like that. This happened like 50 years ago in black and white. 50 years ago, Reggie Jackson still remember that vividly. Our grandparents can remember this stuff vividly. Our parents can remember this stuff vividly. And so, like, to have a prominent figure like Reggie Jackson openly talk about that on Fox broadcasting of all places really made a very important statement, I think. And I hope like people get to, like Jerry said, check out that video about it and just really watch and just listen to the emotion he has while talking. And listen, he said like if people had not got to him, he probably would have died trying to fight, physically fight against racism. And a lot of times, like our generation has wrongly suggested that our ancestors did not or want to fight back against racism. That's completely a misnomer. There were slave rebellions. There were all kinds of rebellions to try to fight against racism and poor treatment by white people and slave owners in the government. So yeah, like Reggie Jackson, one of those people. But like, I'm glad he said what he said. So everybody, check it out when you